I just had to do this video because I have such strong opinions about what has happened to Horizon Workrooms. And I want to start by saying this is like one of my favorite virtual reality workspaces where I enjoy the experience, but also it enables me to do some creative workshops with friends and other people. I like to do workshops on creativity, developing your creative skills. And I also like to do workshops on what is low code solution development. And I've done those in virtual reality with people that I know and just people that I've met, say in VR chat or in the past Altspace VR and in Horizon. And so it's just a very nice place where I can invite a few people in to talk about a particular topic. And we enjoy a feeling of presence, right? That is different from what you would get in a video conference, uh, video conferencing type tool. All right. So I like that presence of being next to an avatar, being able to sit next to an avatar, kind of interact with objects with that avatar, etc. So I was pretty addicted to Horizon Workrooms as something that I had planned to use even more and more in this year. But then they made an update. And as you can see by the title, here's all the things that I hate about the update and the reasons why. Okay. So, first thing is, I went to install this. I went to install this and it tells me my graphic card isn't good enough now. Don't ask me why. My graphic card was fine before, but all of a sudden it's not good enough. So I literally had to change to a different computer to even see this work. And so fortunately I had someone who had one that could work and we kind of paired up to do this review. But that was the first thing that was extremely disappointing. Don't make me have to buy new equipment, or at least please show me why I would need to. Because when you think of graphics, you think of the quality and the resolution of what's in front of you. I don't see a big upgrade here, right? And so I'm kind of, things like Red Matter 2 and Red Matter still work beautifully with the same graphics card. Um, things like, even PC games, they're not screaming about my graphic card. So why is Horizon Workroom screaming about my graphic card on this computer that's less than a year old? I have no idea. Okay, but that was the first disappointment. Second thing, there are no more whiteboards. Now, I want to say something about whiteboards. Whiteboards are critical when you're talking about dynamic brainstorming. Why? Because they have no constraints. Like, I don't even like digital whiteboards sometimes in certain, what do you call it? Video conferencing apps where you might have a digital whiteboard, but it still has a lot of constraints, like where you have to click, how you have to click, um, all that stuff. Whiteboards, the beauty of them is they are completely free flowing, which means that you don't have any software limitations with a whiteboard. And I'm talking about a physical whiteboard for the most part. You just go up there and you design your idea with no constraints. Great feeling. And what Horizon Workrooms had actually done is made the digital workrooms whiteboards better than the physical whiteboards because it got rid of some of the constraints. Like if you're standing in front of the whiteboard, some people in the room won't see it. But not in Horizon Workrooms. They had fixed that, right? And so just imagine for a minute removing whiteboards from your physical conference rooms. How would that feel if we decided from now on physical conference rooms in corporations would no longer have whiteboards? Would that like blow your mind? Like, because your first question would be, what am I supposed to use instead? Right? So don't get why they would take whiteboards out. To me, there's nothing more critical to brainstorming than something free flowing for jotting down those ideas and those designs. Okay, so I won't harp on that anymore. Thirdly, screen share is no longer in the front of the room. How can screen share be no longer in the front of the room? It's like, so what happens to screen share now? Instead of it being on that big wall that's kind of empty and designed for that, right? It's displaying the screen share in front of your environment. By the way, I'm going to get to the fact that you only have one environment, right, for your shared workrooms, right? But it's placing that in front of the mountain view. So you have this really beautiful mountain view. So why would anybody be interested in a presentation when they're looking at a beautiful mountain view? They're going to want to be outside. This is only going to encourage them to want to get out of VR and go outside, right? Which is nothing wrong with that. I believe in going outside, but not while I'm giving my presentation. That shouldn't be your thought. How do I get out of this VR experience and get outside, right? I think plastering that in front of the window is kind of a bad practice, even in physical, right? The screen share is not in the window, right? The screen share is on the big wall where people can focus. Why move the screen share? I have no idea why anybody decided to do that. Now, getting into the environment and what the environment is like, you can no longer customize the layout, right? So, what bothers me about the fact that you can no longer customize the layout is that was the one piece of control we as meeting or event managers had, right? We had no other control because the software is the software, it is what it is, and enjoy it and don't have a fit. But we could change some things. We could add our branding poster. Our latest marketing campaign could be on the wall as an image, or we could change the design of the seating based on how we're going to be using the room. Perhaps we're going to be breaking out into groups, and so we need a group setting layout. Or perhaps we're just like doing some interviews one on one, and so we only need a small table. And so, and maybe we don't really love mountains and we'd love to be in a different scene, like in a city scene or in some other scene. And so we had the ability in the original version to choose a layout that was most convenient for the events manager and what could match to the theme of their event, right? So that their audience would feel like coherence between what they're sitting in and what they're listening to and seeing, right? But no, no, we can't do that anymore. We got one environment. That's it. It's their decision what it is. And we got to stare at it while we're presenting our presentation, right? No options there. Really, really thought this was, you just took out of your event manager's hand so much power with all of these, right? The fact that, there's a special graphic card needed. Now I got to buy superior computer software to even use your thing, right? When I'm trying to do something in VR, why should my computer's graphic card matter at all, right? So I assume that that graphic card issue is just for using the app, but it shows up when you go to install and play it for the first time, right? So it needs to have some type of messaging if it's not really needed for VR. Just put some messaging there and say this desktop app doesn't work for desktop, but you welcome to jump into VR if that's true. If that's not true, I would be more disappointed. Okay. Now the fact that there's no more whiteboards, just kind of the only thing I could say to that, just remember this one question: what if all the conference rooms in the world, physical or virtual, had no whiteboards? The question that would come to your mind is, what's the alternative? Third thing, the screen share no longer in the front of the room. It's just provoking distraction. Get it back in the front of the room where there's a focus, right? The people turn around and look out the window every now and then. That's nice, but they shouldn't be encouraged to be looking out the window during my presentation. That's just okay. This is I might have a little bit of bias there as a presenter, and then give us some customization options. Give us as event managers or meeting managers some ability to customize. Now, to leave this video on a good note, I do want to share that there is one good thing, and this is the rooms are elastic. Now, the elastic room thing is my own sentence. They did not say that word elastic, but it made me think of elastic tables and databases where the ability to grow according to the need is what is encouraged. So it's very cloud centric. If there's two people in the room, it'll be smaller than if there's 200 people in the room. So think of a small office space being increased to the size of a conference room or a pod being increased to a large conference room, a large conference room being increased to the size of a hall, and the size of a hall being increased to the size of a convention center based on how many people in the room. Sounds like a great idea, but tell you what, I don't need it. So the only thing I was thinking here is they're thinking about somehow somebody, maybe Meta, maybe the people managing the events, could monetize events for corporations. And that monetization would need to be flexible as to how many people are in the room. And maybe all of these have some relevance to COGs, right? How much does it cost them to run these services? If this is a high cost for them to run a whiteboard, then, in my opinion, developers and others like program managers, product managers should be brainstorming on how can we reduce the COGs without removing the feature, right? There's got to be a better way to do whiteboards so that you don't have to live without them completely, right? And so, I mean, if there's a COGS issue, you know, I'm one of those people that would be willing to contribute, right? What is it that we can do? Get me in a think tank or whatever. Let's talk about how we can reduce the COGS, right? But don't take away the features that make your product awesome, because you've dumbed this down to something we didn't really want. We wanted the thing you started with. You were on the right track. Okay? Don't jump off the track completely and go some other direction unless you have some validation from your audience that that's what they need. This is my thoughts for today. Meta, I love you. You're cool. I use a lot of your stuff, but this really disappointed me. Thank you for listening and have a great day.